Hey guys, Moldran here. It's been a long time since I made a guide for Hearthstone, and today I'm gonna make a Rogue Arena guide. Now Rogue has been the class that I had most success with. I got 12 wins I think at least 6 times, sometimes 12-0, and I decided okay, I'm gonna make this guide to help you guys be able to achieve high wins as well with Rogue Arena. Now first again, I structured it like my mage guide. I'm gonna go through all the cards and talk how good they are. The top tier cards are pretty self-explanatory. Those are the best rogue specific cards that you have. Assassinate is like an insane clear. It's not as good in terms of like mana efficiency as Hex, for example. Like I'd rather spend 3 mana and have a 0-1 taunt on the board than to spend 5 and completely assassinate it. But you know, it's still really good, and it does one thing that Hex and Sheep don't do. It completely gets rid of the minion. It doesn't leave anything on the board. Now Eviscerate is an insane ability. Mostly you want to combo this for 4 damage and use it either on a big creature or on the hero, but sometimes there's situations where you use it for 2 damage. For example, if there's a Worgen on the board, you might consider to like Eviscerate or to dagger it first and then finish it off with Eviscerate, but you can't play anything else at that specific turn. Deadly Poison is like probably together with Backstab the most or the best rogue card. You can really use it to get your hero ability up to 3 damage. And this is like something that's much better than like the mage hero power or even against shadow form from a priest, because it allows you to do 3 damage. It like becomes like even a normal dagger becomes a Fury Vortex with this, which is insane. And what's also important is that you can, for example, combo this with Assassin's Blade. And with Assassin's Blade, you already have 3 attack and 4 charges, and if you use that, you have like 5 attack with every charge, unless the opponent uses or Harrison Jones the weapon. So there's a lot of nice combos possible. Deadly Poison can also be used to like combo out other classes. Like for example, turn 4 you could Deadly Poison into SI Agent, or turn 5 you could Deadly Poison into Backstab, into Coin, into whatever, into Scrub, into Edwin Van Cleef, and get some really good combos out. Now Van Cleef is here as well. Class specific legendaries, they're usually all really good, and you can really get him like to a threat. Like even if you coin him in turn 2, you can get a 4/4 out of the board. But it's probably even better to like wait a bit and then like make him really huge when he comes out. Backstab also is an insane card. It's like 2 damage to an undamaged minion, but that's often enough to finish it off. There are some minions where it's not so good at, for example against Amani Berserker, but against most minions Backstab is like really good. And what's also really important is it combos with spell effects. So if you have something like a Cobalt Geomancer, this does 3 damage. If you have a Malygos, this does like a shitload of damage. So again, a very good card, should be out to pick in every arena draft. And this Agent is personally my favorite card, because it's like clearly it shows what the rogue class is about combos and like a lot of different synergies. For example, this Agent I've often used already. It's like combo it up with, let's say, Deadly Poison, as Agent a target down, and then a Backstab him back, a Shadow Step him back, and play him again for another 2 damage to kill another target. So there's plenty of options with it, that even if you can't combo it, it's still a 3/3. But in most of the cases you're gonna combo it, and it's like a small fire elemental, you know? It's a small fire elemental for 3 mana, which is really good. Scrubs, I don't think I have to explain that. Insane card, especially if you play it turn 1 with a coin. Wins games on their own. It's really like a big threat on the board for opponents to deal with, even after the nerf to it. Assassin's Blade, I think we already know that weapons are really good. And this is like, this can be with the simple addition of 1 Deadly Poison, an Assassin's Blade can be an Arcanite Reaper with 4 charges. For just 1 MP, so it's also really good. And Petition's Blade is pretty much a combo between a weapon and the Battle Cry is like an SI Agent in itself, so it's also a really strong card. Now to the good cards, those still very good cards. Probably better than most like neutral options, but not quite up there to the top as the other 9 cards. Sprint is an excellent card. Now as rogue, usually you have a lot of small MP cards, like you see a lot here, because between 0, 1 and 2, same here, you have 1, 2, 0, 3, 3, and this makes sprint really good, because when I play rogue, usually what happens is, by turn 5 or 6, I put out a lot of pressure, opponent's going to be low, but I'm going to be completely out of cards, whereas my opponent still has 5 or 6 cards left, with a more balanced deck. So, and then in this situation, sprint is like really good, because it gives you the cards for like to finish him off somehow. Blade Flare is also an excellent card, between good and top I would say, because Blade Flare, as I said, if you have Deadly Poisons or if you have Assassin's Blades, it's really, really good because it's an AoE and it can even be used, for example, if you have an Assassin's Blade and even without Deadly Poison, you can Assassin's Blade the opponent for 3 in the face and then Blade Flurry it, wiping the board and doing 3 additional damage to the opponent to the face. So this card though, however, like becomes stronger the more Deadly Poisons and the more Assassin's Blades you have. So you really need to evaluate the deck. Like in a deck without any Deadly Poison, Assassin's Blade or Perdition's Blade, it's generally not the best choice unless you have something like a Smith, so you get it to at least 3 attack. Zap is also a good card, I think sometimes underrated, because let's say you need a few damage to finish off your opponent, he plays a Sunwalker, and you're like, oh, I'm out of cards, what do I do now? Well, in these situations, Zap, you could set the Sunwalker and proceed to like Assassin's Blade him in the face for the final 3 damage. So Zap can be very good. Betrayal. It's also an insane card. Now, my favorite option with Betrayal is if the opponent has a Cobra. Like sometimes opponents like plays a Cobra, then like I had one case where Fire Elemental to the left and then Earth Elemental to the right, and in the middle was the Cobra. Because he thought that like, oh, the Cobra only deals 2 damage to them. If you use Betrayal on the Cobra, everything dies, unless it is protected by Divine Shield or something. And yeah, Cold Blood is certainly one of the weaker cards out of those, still a very good card. You can also win games. For example, I really like is like a Cold Blood combo into a Charge Mob. For example, Wolf Rider Cold Blood is 7 damage to anything. Argent Commander Cold Blood is Wolf Rider is 7 damage, Argent Commander is 8 damage to anything, and you can even, like, for example, with Cold Blood or with Argent Commander Cold Blood, you can kill an Earth Elemental for free. And this is a really good trade. Shadow Step is also pretty good. As I said, it's really good with SI agents, increases value the more SI agents you have, but there are also other combos that can be really good. And the Patient Assassin, he's vulnerable to some AoE effects and to Arcane Missiles and especially to Mad Bomber, but if you get him and the opponent can't remove him, like it's a big threat on the board because it basically forces your opponent to not play anything big, and then you get a huge advantage in the entire game. What's important with the Patient Assassin is to be patient. Don't just like use it right away on a medium-sized creature, wait for the big guys. And even like, you can just leave it on the board just as a threat, because no one is gonna play like an Ogre into Patient Assassin. That would be ridiculous. But the thing is, you deny your opponent like a lot of turns and make him use his mana inefficiently simply by the presence of the Patient Assassin. Then average cards, or put Shadow Step again. Yeah, it's pretty close, as I said. I probably put Shadow Step average because it's so situational. But yeah, I talked already about it. Fan of Knives, often overrated. A lot of people think, oh, I need AoE. Fan of Knives, best AoE word. But it's 1 damage to all creatures. Yes, you get a card, but 1 damage AoE is nothing. So unless you have some kind of like a lot of spell power, but even then it's hard to pull off because it still costs 3, which is, in my opinion, too much. I also have Blade Flurry here again, which is also interesting. But Blade Flurry is probably better than average, so I'm gonna keep it up there. Shift, again, it's just a 1 damage. It's like Immortal Coil that's more expensive, which is really bad. Like deal 1 damage, that's something like Elven Archer can do for 1. Yes, it draws you a card, but in general not really impressed by the card, unless again you have a lot of spell power. But even then it still costs 2 mana, and usually you can spend the mana better. And yeah, those are the bad cards. I don't even want to talk about them. What I want to talk about is Kidnapper, because a lot of people pick it, they think it's really good, but the thing is, by the time you would be able to like use a Kidnapper effectively, the game is almost over, and it's even going to be hard to combo it, because in the late game you have like 1 or 2 cards left, you have the Kidnapper in hand, but you can't combo it, so it's going to be really bad. Massive Disgaze, on the other hand, works well in some constructed decks. For example, get a huge Edwin Van Cleef out and then Stealth him to finish off the opponent to turn after, but in an arena deck usually it won't work well. Same with the other spells. Preparation only has 1 purpose, which is Sprint. If you have, for example, 1 or 2 sprints, you might consider picking that, but it's not a card you want to top deck, for example, and can lose games on its own. Headquake is another useless card, like it's mana inefficient and it's bad, like deal 2 damage to the hero for 3 mana. That's insane, like how bad this card is. And yeah, Sinister Strike is on the same level pretty much. But yeah. Synergy effects, same with Mage. Rogue is a lot of, or one key ability of Rogue are like all the synergies. Now, you have synergies with all the 0, 1 and 2 cost cards, so low cost cards or gain value in the Rogue decks because of the combos. You can combo Defiers, you can combo IHN, so make sure to get a lot of low cost cards. Shadow Step again can be comboed with Scrubs to summon even more, Earthen Ring for power healing, IHN, Argent Commander, a lot of combos again. Spells, same with Mage. Those are the, for example, my favorite here is the Kobold, if you have a lot of backstabs, because then backstab hits for 3, Eviscerate hits for 5. Auctioneer is also really good before the small cards like Telepoison procs it, Backstab procs it, Eviscerate procs it, and many other spells proc it as well. So this could be used as an effective card draw. Blade Flurry and Blood Cell Raider combo with the weapons. So if you have a lot of weapons or deadly poisons, then both Blade Flurry and Blood Cell Raider gain significant in value. This should also be clear. Building a rogue deck is a bit different than building other decks. Again, get the top tier rogue cards over anything else. That should be self-explanatory. And for rogue, what's different is that usually most games are decided before it gets into the late game. So what the playstyle that worked best for me in rogues is like to really rush the opponents down, but not stupidly like go face with everything you have. Like always evaluate the situation, and often like going for the face is the best option, but not always. Like you also want to like remove threats on the board or make good valuable trades if you can, to gain presence and control. And a good way to extend games is with sprint. Now, usually as a rogue, you're often going to be out of cards pretty early, and then sprint could be the one card that like really extends the game for you. And as a rogue, like the mana curve shifts pretty far to the left compared to other classes. It doesn't peak at 4 anymore. Now I would say it peaks between 2 and 3, and then you only have a few cards for late game, like one sprint to make it through. Now, when I play rogue, I usually get like, or try to get around 3 to 5 0/1 drops, mostly to be able to combo other stuff. And because they're so strong, like Backstab and Telepoison, then 6 to 7 2-drops is just like 1 or 2 more than with other classes. Good cards are not Frostbolt or Apprentice, because copy-pasted this, but good cards are Eviscerate, Scrubs, Juggler, Amani, Bomber again. Then I get 5 to 6 3-drops, which is like 1 more than usual. SI Agent, Shadow Sun, Worgen, Acolyte, Golem, really good cards. Then 5 to 6 4-drops. This is like the main point of the game. Again, it could be Yeti, that's Dingo, Ogre Mage, and Removal, like Assassinate. Really good. And late game for Rogue is only 3 to 4 cards. With Druid and Paladin, I tend to go to 7, 8. Mage and other classes, usually like 5 to 6. But as a Rogue, I only try to get 3 to 4, sometimes 5. And it should be at least one sprint if you can get it, to really like be able to keep the game going. Or other good cards are Argent Commander to like finish them off. Even Lyra is really good, but hard to get in Arena, of course. Now here I have an example of building a 12-win deck. What you could do is, this deck went 12-0. I built it on stream, played all games on stream, so make sure to watch that. I'm gonna put the entire document in the description again, so you get all the information. And with this Twitch TV VOD, you can see like how I built the deck and look at it and think, if you don't go 12 wins often with Rogue, what you would have built differently. And then try to like think why I did certain, or why I made certain choices at any point of the draft. Because I think that's where I can learn probably the most out of this entire guide, to like see how I built the deck and how you would have built it instead. Because then you can also see, okay, if you, for example, like built it exactly the same, but you still, let's say, only go 4 or 5 wins on average, or 3 wins on average, then you might watch like the entire run, because maybe it's the playing that needs to improve then. Alright, and last but not least, the additional tips. Mulligan strategies are really important for Rogue. With that I mean throwing cards away in the opening hand. Especially if you go second and you got the coin, and you, let's say you have 2 Defiers in your deck, then you want to get them in your opening hand. And then it's even worth, for example, to throw away a Mad Bomber or something, because the chance is going to be so high to get at least 1 Scrub. So what I often do is, if I don't have a Scrub and I have 2 in my hand, I mulligan all 4 cards and usually get back at least 1 Scrub. And because Rogue cards are like so early game centered anyway, even if you don't get them back, even if you have the 20% chance that you miss them, you'll still get back some other like 1 or 2 drops like Backstab or Telepoison or a Mad Bomber. And this is why you can really take the risk here. Like you can throw away cards easier on the Rogue than with other classes. For example, if you play a late game Druid or a late game Paladin, then you want to keep the 1-2 drop that they have in the opening hand. There's another thing, is Rogue, you have to risk more than with other classes. You have to go for the face more. You have to decide always, okay, what is the best move in this current situation? This takes a lot of experience, because you need to know like where your limits are as a Rogue and when you should go for the face, or when you have to like go for board control at this point. And as I said, like with a lot of my successful decks that went 10+ wins, a lot of the games are really close. Where, for example, I use my last card, like the last thing I have, and it's just enough to finish the opponent off. Now, as a Rogue, you won't. But on the other hand, like there are also some games where as a Rogue you really stomp people, where like turn 4 or 5 you kill them and they have no chance. But that's the beauty about Rogue, and that's why it's probably one of my favorite classes. And yeah, card disadvantages with Rogue is normal. Don't panic when you're turn 5 or 6 and you're almost out of cards and the opponent has like 6 cards left. Usually at that point you will have done a lot of damage to your opponent, like he's going to be at 5 to 10 HP. And then if you get something like a sprint or like a good finisher, you should be able to finish him off. So don't worry that, this is normal for Rogue. And as I say here, finish off the opponent before it matters or draw a sprint and get back in action. And last but not least, one mistake that I often see when I'm playing against other people in Arena is like, they tag up and then as soon as they can, if they don't have anything else to do, they just go for the hero. But this is inefficient. For example, if you have a dagger equipped, don't attack right away. If it was only playing turn 2, don't use it to attack, do 1 damage to the hero at that point. Especially not if you have, for example, in your hand you have a Worgen or a Jedi to follow up the next turn. Think ahead a few turns. Think, okay, do I have cards for the next turns? Do I have plays or would I have room to like play a weapon again? If you think you have room to play a weapon again, then go for the face, but only then. But in most cases, you are like, okay, next turn I'm going to play this, then I'm going to play that. So I'm going to save my dagger for when I need it, for when I can actually kill a minion, or when I can combo it with Deadly Poison and do some real damage with it. Alright, that was my Rogue guide. I hope it was useful for some of you. Hope it helps you improve your win-loss ratio in Arena as Rogue. And yeah, if you liked the guide, make sure to leave a comment below and let me know which class you want next if you want a continuation of the series. Thanks for watching. I'll be back.